Okay, we will go ahead and get started. Thank you all for being on tonight, especially after a long full day of school. I see a lot of returning faces, so welcome back, but I also see a lot of new faces. So welcome to the new school year. We are excited to have you here with us at Florida HOSA. We have a lot to cover tonight, so just if you could stay on mute, save all of your questions until the end. We will do an advisor Q&A at the end. But we do have a lot to go through. We will be going through our Florida HOSA website. We will be going through the Global National HOSA website a little bit. I will be showing you how to do affiliation in the HOSA CMS. And we will also be going over our Welcome Back Rally, which is in late September, as well as our Fall Leadership Development Academy, which is in November. So I will show you how to register for those conferences, as well as go through all of the paperwork associated. So like I said, we have a lot to cover, so go ahead and get started. Going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with our Florida HOSA website. So this is where at the rotating banner, we will have a lot of our important information that we want you guys to see. So anytime you come to our website, make sure you're just paying attention to what's on the rotating banner. It's a lot of updates, new information that we will put on there. If you scroll down on our main screen under news, this is where we also will have important information. So right now we have linked how to start a HOSA chapter, which we will have some updates occurring on that page as of tomorrow. I will send that out, a link to that page with the updates. It's going to be very helpful, especially for new HOSA advisors. I will send that out tomorrow, as well as the link to the recording, which will also be posted to our Florida HOSA website. We also have information on how your chapter can become a guardian chapter. We have a link to our 2026 SLC pin and t-shirt design contest. And we also have a Florida HOSA competition toolkit that we released around January of this year, and we are very excited. And so I'll show you that as well. But any important news for Florida HOSA will be listed here or in the rotating web banner. I will also get to our competition page, but this is an easy access to the Florida HOSA competitive events that we are running this year, as well as our the competitive event guidelines that are produced by Global National HOSA. So if you hover over About Us, you can view our board of directors. Your regional advisors will be listed there. So in their contact information, if you need to see that, but that is a link to our board of directors. We have a link to our regional map. And we have some updates to the map this year that we're excited about. So you find your county and what region you are in. And if you click on it, it will bring you to the page of your region and who your regional advisors are that you should contact with any questions. So all regional questions should be directed to the regional advisors. If you email me, I will just refer you to the regional advisors. The regional advisors are the ones that set up their own regional conferences and regional dues and regional conference fees and all of that. So if you have regional specific questions, please just reach out to your regional advisors. Back to that About Us, we have our Who's Who page in Florida HOSA. We have a link to our state officers. So this is our new 2025-2026 state officer team. If any of your members want to get to know our team, they can click down here into any of their positions. So that is our state officer team. And then we have a link to FAPA, our Florida HOSA Alumni and Professional Association. They help Florida HOSA tremendously throughout the year. A lot of them are our past state officers, but we do have just professionals in the field as well that are part of FAPA. So information on FAPA is found here on this page. If you hover over resources and publications, starting a chapter, this is where I mentioned we will have some updates as of tomorrow on this page. If you are a new chapter advisor, this is going to be a very helpful page for you. So again, I will link that in the email tomorrow. This is very important. Second in the drop-down list, our calendar of events. Please, please, please make sure you bookmark this page, print this out, make sure your students are aware of these deadlines and dates. It's 3 pages long. We have all of our deadlines are usually highlighted in red. Our main conferences are highlighted in blue. And then important information is in green, but the whole calendar of events is important. So just make sure you're well aware of this. Not every single thing on here is going to apply to you as the chapter advisor or to your members. We do have state officer meetings and our CE committee meetings on there, and board meetings and things like that. But all of our important deadlines for conferences, the dates of the conferences, all of that is on our calendar of events. So please make sure you are very familiar with the calendar of events and that your members are as well. We have our Florida HOSA dress code policy, and third on the drop-down list under resources and publications. Please make sure that you are aware of the dress code policy. Your student members are aware of the dress code policy. We strictly abide by this at all of our conferences, and especially our state leadership conference. Your student members will not be allowed on stage if they are not in the correct dress code. So please just make sure you read through our dress code policy so you are aware of what is required for our general sessions, but also the specific competitive events, because depending on what competitive event your student is participating in, competing in, there might be a specific dress code for that event, as well as our other events that we offer at the conference itself. There may be a different dress code for that. So please make sure that you and your students are well aware of our dress code policy. It's very important. Fourth on the list, advisor teacher resources. This is going to be a great page for you. If you go to the page and scroll down, the second drop down is where these webinar recordings will be posted. So we, as of right now, have the webinars from last year that you can view, although there will be changes. There always are to every year to the conferences. So that's why we always strongly encourage everybody attend these webinars so that you are aware of any changes that we have for the year. But if you wish to just kind of look through any of the webinars from last year, those are available right now under here. This is also where this recording will be posted, and I will link that to you guys tomorrow. Student member resources, that's a page your student members might be interested in. If you are a middle school advisor, we have a page on the middle school division, because there are, I'll get into this in a little bit, there are different events for middle school, the middle school division versus secondary and post-secondary. Our newsletters, we produce 4 newsletters a year. We have already released our August newsletter. So if you haven't checked it out yet, please do. And please let your members know that it is on our website. We've sent it out to the regional advisors to distribute, but we also have posted it to our social media. So, but it is linked right here. It has a lot of good information about the upcoming year. So please check that out when you have a chance. Under newsletters in the dropdown is scholarships. The Florida HOSA Foundation gives away scholarships, and they're presented at our state leadership conference. More information will be provided on that page as we get later into the year, and we will obviously let you know about that, but that's where the students will come to look at the scholarship information, and that's where the scholarship application will be posted as well. Florida HOSA brand, if you need the logo for anything, that information can be found there. Our Florida HOSA bylaws, if you're interested in developing bylaws for your own chapter, our Florida HOSA bylaws are great to look at and just kind of, use what we have, and you can take that and develop your own, which I strongly encourage each chapter does. And then we do have an FAQ page as well. Probably the most important drop-down list is our conferences. So the Welcome Back Rally is our first conference. It will be September 30th. I will get into that later into the webinar, so I'm not going to go in depth right now, but that is the information. That is where the Welcome Back Rally information will be found. Second in the list is regional conferences. This is very important as well. If you click it, it will take you to our regional conferences table. We update this very regularly, so please just keep checking back. Your regional advisors will send you information on the if they have a fall leadership conference, and then their winter spring CE conference. Every region has a winter spring CE conference. That's the conference that your student members will compete at to qualify potentially for the state leadership conference. Not every region does a fall leadership conference, but if they do, the information will be posted to this table as soon as we have the information from your regional advisor. Again, any regional specific questions, please reach out to them specifically. Their contact information is here. Like I said, you can get to it from the regional map, and then it's also listed on our board of directors. But please keep checking back here and making sure you're paying attention to any emails that you do get from your regional advisors, because they will be starting to send out fall leadership and winter spring conference information shortly, if they haven't already. I do want to point out the Florida HOSA competitive event list. We have it linked here. We have it linked several places on the homepage. It's linked here, and it's also linked on our competitive events page, which I'll get to in a second. But I do want to show you all this. These are the competitive events that we are running at our state leadership conference. There are a few new events. Those are listed. We have First Step Career Skills for middle school, biomedical equipment tech for secondary and post-secondary, and healthcare administration for secondary and post-secondary. We also are going to run Global National HOSA for the 50th anniversary is doing a HOSA history exam. We will be running that at the SLC only. They do not have versions for the regional competitions. So SLC only, and you can see that listed down here in the recognition category, HOSA history exam. That will only be for this year as the 50th anniversary. But please make sure that your students are looking at this. If they're, we don't run every event. We run most events, pretty much all of them, but there are a couple that we are not running. There's a new one, surgical tech, this year that we will not be running at the state conference. Generally, if we aren't running it at the state conference, the regional advisors do not run it at the regional conference. But they can just make sure your students know if they're competing in something that's offered at the regional level, that they need to make sure that we're offering it at the state level, or else they would stop at the regional conference and wouldn't be competing at SLC. So please make sure that you're looking through this list, that they're looking through this list. These are all of the competitions, even the recognition categories. And I will get in for, especially for our new advisors, I will get in I'll get into each category, because you're probably looking at this list thinking, wow, this is overwhelming. There are a lot of competitive events that are offered through Global National HOSA. So we do try to offer as many as we can. We are restricted a little bit with how many rooms we have at our conference hotel. But we do offer most of the competitive events that Global National HOSA does. So make sure that you're looking at that link as well as your students, and that you're coming back to this regional conferences table often to just make sure you know when your fall leadership conference is, if your region is having one, and then when your winter spring CE conference is as well. We will not only have on this table the date of the winter, spring, and fall leadership conferences, but we will also have the testing window dates, as well as the registration deadlines. So very important table to come back to and look at. Again, hovering back over on conferences, our Fall Leadership Development Academy, I will get into that in just a little bit. Our State Leadership Conference, we will have stuff posted to this. Usually we have a few things posted before the winter break, and then everything else is posted when you all come back from the winter break. So you won't find much on the State Leadership Conference at this point. But we do have the dates for this coming year on there and everything like that. So if you want to look at your leisure at the SLC or the ILC pages, feel free. But again, that information won't be posted until a little bit later in the year. And I also do a webinar I actually do 2 for the State Leadership Conference. So please make sure you're on those, especially if you're new. And then I do 1 for the International Leadership Conference. And then I also do a winter spring CE regional conference webinar. So I will show you how to register for your regional conferences, especially because you'll be getting into registration for the competitive events and team events, and it can get a little bit confusing. So I do a webinar on that as well. So stay tuned for those dates. Last in the drop-down list is competitive events. Again, we have that link to our Florida HOSA competitive events for the year. So please make sure you're looking at that. Here is a link to our Florida HOSA competition toolkit that our 2024-2025 state officer team developed. It is a fantastic resource. I strongly encourage you let your members know about this if they don't already. Again, we do post it on social media. And I know the new team has plans to be doing some more promotion of this, but it's a phenomenal resource. It really does help the students pick what event is best for them, and what they need to prepare for the events. It can be very overwhelming, especially when you're considering, we have test only events, and then we have events that have a test and a skill, and then we have a teamwork event. So just trying to figure out what they are most interested in and the resources that they may need. This is a very fantastic resource that our state officer team put together. They put a lot of work into it. So we want to make sure we get the word out about this. So please make sure your members are aware. And then we have a link to the competitive event guidelines page on the Global National HOSA website, which I will show you in just a second. And then we also have information on the middle school division, because again, different competitive events and things like that. So this is our competitive events page. Contact us if you need to contact us for any questions or anything we can help you with. We have our address, phone, email, and fax. If you scroll down, this is the state staff. I have Lloyd and Mandy on this call. If you have not met them already, Lloyd is our system manager. Mandy is our office manager, executive assistant. And then Sandra Lynn Rezak is our business and finance manager. And then I'm obviously the executive director, state advisor. Any of the 4 of us can help you with whatever you may need. So please reach out to us. We just ask and beg and plead that you make sure your student members understand that they cannot reach out to us. We have almost 20,000 members, so you can imagine if every student reached out to us, we just wouldn't be able to do anything else in terms of a job besides answering emails. So please just make sure we have it listed twice. Our Florida HOSA policy is that official communication is with advisors only. So me or our state office staff, the regional advisors, and then the local chapter advisors. So all student members should come to you for any chapter or questions, or really any HOSA related questions that they have. If you do not know the answer and you need additional assistance, you can either contact the regional advisors, or of course you can contact our state office. But we do ask that you make sure your members understand that. Doesn't mean that they always abide by that. So if they do reach out to me, I will CC you. I will respond to them, and I will throw you in on the email thread so you're aware that they're reaching out to our state office, because sometimes they do that. But yes, I just would like to make sure everyone knows about our communication policy. And really, it's helpful for us, for the regional advisors, and for you as well, that all the information goes through the advisors, so that way information is not being incorrectly, told to other members. We're making sure that we're getting the correct information to the full group. And then last but not least, our CMS login. So I will go into this in more depth when we cover affiliation, but this is just a very easy link that will take you to the Florida, or sorry, it's not Florida HOSA, but the Global National HOSA CMS, the Conference Management System. So we will refer to it as the HOSA CMS throughout the webinar and throughout the year. So just make sure you understand that this is the CMS. This is where you will do your affiliation. This is where you will do registration for all of the conferences. So it's very important to get to know this system well. But again, we will go through this in more detail in just a little bit. I would like to just go back to our competitive events page and show you linking the competitive event guidelines page to the Global National HOSA website. So this is their competitive event guidelines page. It is not updated yet. That usually happens at the very beginning of September. So you'll see this little clause right here, the 2025-2026 guidelines will be released September 1st. Your students can still look through here. We'll go through this in just a second, but your students can still look through this page to kind of fine tune, and again, using our competition toolkit if they would like, fine tune what they're interested in, what category, potentially what competitive events. Although the guidelines are always updated, they don't necessarily always change. I mean, sometimes there are drastic changes to the guidelines, and then other times there's not. But they can at least use the current guidelines that are in there now to look through and kind of decide what they might be interested in. This is probably the most overwhelming part, I would say, for the student members, just deciding what competitive event they might be interested in competing in. So first and foremost, the most important thing for you and for the student members is to read through the general rules and regulations. So these are the rules that pertain to all competitors in all of the events. It's very important that the student members are aware that what the general rules and regulations are and that they are to abide by them. There is a clause in all of the guidelines that says that they understand every part of the general rules and regulations. So just make sure they are looking through this document. It is very important. The competitive event appendices, this is also important. It just has more information that are not in the general rules and regulations that pertain to the CE program that are good for them to know as well. But if you scroll down, the first set of competitive events that you will see is the NGL Cengage Academic Testing Center competitive events. We do not run these here at Florida HOSA. This is for us at Florida HOSA, this is ILC only. So the students can come to ILC and compete in these events if they wish. At least last year and years prior, they could compete in as many as they would like. There was a fee associated, but we do not offer these events at Florida HOSA. So I just want to make sure everybody is aware of that. They are not on the list of competitive events for this year that we are running. So we do not run the ones in the tan boxes. That's ILC only. So this first set of blue boxes is the secondary and post-secondary collegiate events, specifically the health science events. So these are our testing events. So look through these if they're interested in any of these particular areas in the health field, and they can look through them and decide which one they would like to compete in. Our health professions events are the next one. Again, the blue boxes are secondary and post-secondary only. Now it is the same guidelines for secondary and post-secondary, but they do not compete against each other. They will compete in the division that they are in. So the secondary will all compete together, and then the post-secondary will all compete against each other. So these are our health professions events. These are our emergency preparedness events, leadership events, and teamwork events. Now, I do just kind of want to go scroll a little bit back up here to the health professions events. So I'll just click into clinical specialty. You'll see up here at the top, and this is on every guideline, they will put what the eligible division is. So again, secondary and post-secondary. They will put whether it's a solo event or a team event. So this one is a solo event, one competitor. If it's a team event, they will put how many members can be on the team. So sometimes it's a range, 2 to 6, whatever. Sometimes it's an exact number of 4 teammates. So just make sure they're paying attention to that. It will show if there is a round 1 and what that round 1 is, and then it will also show if there is a round 2. So for some of them, the round 1 might be a test, and then the round 2 might be a skill. So that will be listed right here. For clinical specialty specifically, there's only a round 1. It's the skill video and a presentation. Keep in mind that there are digital uploads that ILC does. We have not decided yet if we're doing digital uploads for our state conference. So just kind of ignore that for the time being. You'll get more information on SLC later in the year. But this is what an example of one of the guidelines looks like. You'll see the event summary, the dress code, what the competitor must provide. That's very important because if it is on this list, they must bring it. It is not provided for them. And a lot of times if they don't bring it, then they're going to be disqualified from the competitive event. General rules, and that's where I was mentioning with the general rules and regulations, competitors must be familiar with and adhere to the general rules and regulations. And then it will go through any, the round 1, the round 2, what that consists of, any resources that the students may need to purchase or look through or whatever to help prepare them for competing in the competitive event. If there is a skill, it'll list several skills that they need to know how to do. And then at the regional, state, and international level, one or more of those skills they might be asked to perform. So they need to know all of them and how to do them. So just make sure that they're kind of, deciding what area they're interested in, what competitive events they might be interested in, then going deep diving into the actual guidelines page and seeing if that's something that they might want to do. So that is an example of one of the guidelines. And then I would like to just show you one of the teamwork events really quick. So again, here's what I was talking about with the team events. It will list the number of competitors. So creative problem solving is a team event, and you can have 2 to 6 competitors per team. Here's another example of what I was saying with round 1 and round 2. So for this particular competitive event, there's a 50-question test for round 1, and there's a problem and presentation for round 2. And then it has all the same information, and then it will go deeper into what round 1 consists of, what round 2 consists of, and what they're required to present. And so that is an example of a team guidelines. Scrolling down a little bit more to the gray boxes, these are recognition events. Each student member is able to compete in one regular competitive event, which means they could compete in one event out of any of these blue boxes. They can only select one though. So they can't do one from each category. We have 5 categories. They can't do one from each category. They can only choose one out of all of the competitive events, the regular competitive events of these 5 categories. However, they can do as many recognition events as they would like. These are all of these in the gray box. So they can read through these guidelines at their leisure. But these are our recognition events that are generally based on, community service and getting out into the field and the community, and then getting recognition for that. Scrolling down a little bit more into the maroon boxes, these are events unique to middle school members. So these are the middle school only competitive events. So the middle school members, if if they're if the event is not listed in maroon, so if they wanted to do one of these, that's not the same as the post-secondary and secondary division, which is all of these events. So these are the events that are open to middle school members with the same content and requirements as the secondary and post-secondary division. They cannot compete in them. So again, we have this separation there of the middle school only events and then the secondary and post-secondary. So just make sure if you are a middle school advisor, you're looking at the maroon boxes. If you're secondary, post-secondary, you're looking at the blue boxes. And you might be a middle high school where you have both, in which case you just need to make sure that they understand which events that they can compete in. But again, same thing for middle school, just clicking into each guidelines and they can look through the competitive event that they might be interested in. There are also other resources. I'm not going to go, just based on time, not going to go super in depth into the Global National HOSA website. You can kind of look at that on your own time. But to get to this page, if you're not getting to it from our competitive events page on our Florida HOSA website, if you just go to HOSA.org, hover over competitions and click on guidelines, it will take you to this page. Again, you can also just get to it from our competitive events page on our Florida HOSA website. The first drop down or the first in this drop down list under competition is the general rules and regulations, which I already mentioned. Please just make sure you're reading through that. Another good resource is the competitive event useful tools. So these are the first one in the list is the CE updates and changes. So that's always good to keep track of. But any questions regarding the guidelines or competition or competitive events generally can be answered by coming to this page or the guidelines page. Okay. So I am going to move into affiliation. Again, if you have any questions, if you could just save them till the end, then we can answer it with the full group. I will be moving into affiliation. So I want to go back just really quick to our Florida HOSA website. Again, the easiest way, if you're not bookmarking the HOSA CMS, is to just come to flhosa.org and click right here on the maroon heading, CMS Login. It will take you to the login. Your login will be your charter number. If you already know your charter number and password, like if you receive that information, if you're a new advisor, this is mostly for new advisors, because obviously returning advisors, you will have your login and password. But for new advisors, if you receive the login and password from the old chapter advisor, you can use that to log into the system. If you do not know the password, but you know the charter number, you can click Forgot Password here. It will pull up something that says, please enter your username. The username is going to be the charter number. So the charter number is either going to start with an FL or a 15, but that's your charter number. That's what you would put under username, not your email, not your name, the charter number. But please keep in mind that if you are a new chapter advisor, most likely the contact information associated with your charter in our HOSA system is going to be the old chapter advisor from last year. And so in which case, if you click Forgot Password and you enter your charter number here and click Submit, it's going to send a reset password to whatever email we have on file in the system, which will likely be, again, the old chapter advisor. So that really wouldn't help you in that case. So if you do not know the charter number at all, please contact our state office. We will give you the charter number and we'll send you a link to create a new password. If you know the charter number, but you don't know the password and you are new and don't think that the information has been updated to your contact information, please contact our state office because we will, again, we will update the contact information to you and prompt with that link to reset the password. But again, login will be the charter number. It starts with an FL or a 15, and then the password. So once you log in, you will see your charter page. So it's separated into 4 different sections. You have membership for 2025-2026, which is how we will do affiliation. I'll go through that. Member activities, this is where you can track your members' activities in terms of, a lot of times their recognition events and hours that they've reported. So that will all be here, whether they're pending, denied, or approved. Any conferences will be listed here. So you will see, the state leadership conference, your regional conferences, all of that will be listed under conferences. And then online testing, don't worry about that right now. We will go through that during the winter spring CE conference for regionals. So for affiliation, normally if you haven't affiliated for anybody for the year, this will all say 0. For us, we've already affiliated us and our state officers. So that's why we have numbers in here and a balance. But if you haven't affiliated yet, this will all be 0. To affiliate, you are going to click this plus sign right here, and it will take you to the affiliation application. So this is very important. You'll need to go through all of these pages and thoroughly read, make sure you're entering in the correct information until you get to the end and finalize everything all together. So going to the next step, number 2, is the chapter information. It will have your charter number already prompted there. You will choose the program type, what division, and it will have the chapter name, all of that. Faculty, that's where you will put your name. If you have a secondary or a co-advisor, you will list them here under secondary advisor. Please do list your principal and your principal's email address as well. Scrolling down, communications, you will put the chapter email where you wish all communications to go to. So again, if you have 2 advisors, you'll need to pick someone's. Unfortunately, they don't have a way to put both in. You'll need to pick one person's email to get any sort of information. Now, this is separate from the emails that I send out. If you have 2 advisors, we will send out the information to both of them as long as we have it in our database system. So don't worry about that. But for any HOSA specific communications, which really pertain to like the regional conferences and things like that, when we're talking about registration and proctoring and all that, please just make sure you have whoever's email that you would like to receive that information, as well as the phone number. Recognition and activities. If you are submitting your application prior to October 15th, you'll want to hit the HOSA 100 Club. There's different recognition and activities that you can read through here, a new chapter. So just read through these and choose any of them that it may apply to the chapter that you will be affiliating for. Scrolling down to addresses, billing address, shipping address, make sure you enter the correct address there. And then on the bottom right, click next step, which will take you to the member information. So if you are entering a new member, you will put the member type, which division, gender, race, class, first name and last name, and email. Now, I know it's a little confusing because the asterisks are under first name, last name, and email, but you have to fill in all of these fields except for phone. If you have the phone number, great. If you don't, that's okay, because that's an optional field, but all these other fields are required for any new members that you are going to be adding. Please make sure when you are affiliating your student members, you are trying your best to use their personal email addresses. Sometimes I do have to reach out to them depending on, like for the international conference or the state conference, depending on their role, whether they're a voting delegate, courtesy corps. And it also helps us with our alumni division afterwards if we have their personal email addresses, so we can contact them even after they leave high school or leave middle school or leave their university. So please make sure you're not, for ease, just putting your email in there. We don't want your email. It has to be a unique email for each of the members, and it needs to be their personal email address if possible. Because again, we get a lot of bounce backs when it goes through the school emails. So if you're able to put the personal email address in there, that is what we prefer. If you have any returning members from last year, up here at the top, do you have any members returning from last year? Or down here at the bottom, there's new and returning members 2025, 2026, and you can click this yellow button that says show returning members. But if you do have returning members, you don't need to fully complete, their entire affiliation again. You can just click yes, and then you can select whichever member is returning. And then obviously you'll have a chance to update whatever contact information you may need to then. But again, you don't have to re-affiliate. You do have to re-affiliate in the sense that you have to add them into the affiliation system, but you don't need to enter them as a new member. You can just pull them from the returning members list. So then down here at the bottom under next steps, you'll go to demographics. Any chapter demographic information you can provide, you enter it here. Next step is the fees. This is very important. So please make sure you're looking at the total number of members and the total amount for the dues. It's going to be $30 total for each affiliated member. So $20 goes to us at Florida HOSA. $10 goes to Global National HOSA for a total of $30 per person, including the advisor. So to have an affiliated active HOSA chapter, you have to have at least 5 affiliated members and 1 affiliated chapter advisor. If you affiliate your members and you don't affiliate yourself, you'll get an email from me in a couple of months saying, hi, you need to affiliate yourself. You have to have at least 5 members and 1 affiliated chapter advisor. Please make sure you're double checking and making sure, again, the total number of members are correct, as well as the dues. But most important, I'm probably going to mention this a couple more times, is this under the chapter affiliation agreement, B, subsection B here. It's bolded. So before you submit your affiliation application, you have to understand, because you're checking this box down here at the bottom, that you agree to be bound by HOSA Future Health Professionals Chapter Affiliation Agreement upon clicking Submit Application below. Please make sure you read B. Members cannot be removed once they've been submitted. By submitting the application, you understand that there are no deletions and no refunds allowed once the application has been submitted. We recommend as a best practice to collect the affiliation fees prior to entering in members' names if you are unsure if they will join, and see the HOSA bylaws. So please make sure you're not affiliating somebody if you are not sure that they are going to be participating in HOSA or paying their affiliation dues. So again, this is not a Florida HOSA rule. This is a global national HOSA protocol. They run this CMS system, so we do not have any control over this. Once a name is in the system, it cannot be deleted. And unfortunately, there's nothing I can do for you in regards to that, because it is a global national HOSA protocol. So please make sure that you're collecting the dues from every single member prior to affiliating them, or you will have dues for however many members you affiliate that don't pay, that the school will still owe those dues. So please make sure you're just collecting the affiliation fees prior. You can always come back and affiliate more people. So if you have, 25 students that say they're interested, they all pay, great. You affiliate them, you pay the dues, and then you get 10 more students that say they find out about it a couple weeks later and they want to affiliate. You can always come back and affiliate more members. So don't worry about that. Don't think you have to do it all at the same time. But we just want to make sure you fully understand that we cannot delete any names once they're in the system. So make sure you're collecting the dues prior. And then down here at the bottom, you will click Submit Application, and then it will take you to the payment. Now for payment, the affiliation fees, this is really important to understand, especially for the new chapter advisors, and please make sure that your bookkeepers understand this. Global National HOSA is separate from Florida HOSA. We are two separate vendors. Global National HOSA is in South Lake, Texas. We're in Alachua, Florida. Two very different organizations. Affiliation dues go to Global National HOSA. The full $30 for every single affiliated member. From there, once Global National HOSA receives the affiliation dues from your chapter, they will then send us our portion. So they will send us our $20 due for each member. But the full affiliation due, the full amount goes to Global National HOSA in South Lake, Texas. All conferences, unless otherwise stated, that we run out of the state office, so that would be like the Welcome Back Rally, FLDA, SLC, and even ILC. Those funds, those conference fees come to us at Florida HOSA. It's going to be posted all over all of our documents online and everything, but I just want to make sure you understand that affiliation dues, what we're talking about now, will be sent to Global National HOSA. If they get sent to us, we will send them back to your school, and your bookkeeper will need to cut another check and send it to Global National HOSA. So just make sure, a lot of times the chapter advisors will just kind of give the bookkeepers the information and let them do with it what they will. And a lot of times the bookkeepers don't understand that it's two separate vendors. If you go back to the main screen for payment, and this is affiliation dues only, you can pay by credit card through Global National HOSA. There is a fee. I want to say it's between 4 and 5%. So you can pay by credit card, or you can pay by school check. If you need an invoice for your bookkeeper, you will just click the yellow button, account statement here, and it will list all of the students you have affiliated and the amount. Now, if you go in and affiliate, like let's say I affiliate on 8-4, we affiliated all these people. If we wanted to add anybody else, we could go back in, we could add it, pull the account statement again, and have those additional people added in there. This is very important to pay attention to. Up at the top, right next to the HOSA Future Health Professionals logo, this is where you will send whatever it is. So whatever invoice you're pulling, account statement you're pulling, it will have where you're supposed to send the money to. So again, affiliation dues, Global National HOSA, our conferences that are based out of our state office will be sent to our state office. Regional conferences, your regional advisor will set their own location, school, whatever, of where they want that sent, but it will always be at the top here. So please just make sure your bookkeeper knows to pay attention to whatever address is listed up here in the middle by the logo, because that's where the funds need to be sent to. Okay, so that is affiliation. I think I got all of the important information I wanted to get to you. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say too, for when you're entering in the students' names, please just make sure, sometimes there can be issues when students go to upload, either if it's for their competitive event or for a recognition event, and I'll go through this on a later webinar, not this one, but they will actually have to log into a version of the CMS to update and add any hours or any digital uploads that they may need to do. Sometimes there can be issues with the login if they have an extra space in their name when they're being affiliated. So just make sure when you're entering the first name and you're entering the last name, there's no spaces after either name. It will prevent a lot of issues down the line when we get into competitive events. And again, like I had mentioned, you can return back to this and affiliate more students at any point in time. But just make sure that you are affiliating all of your student members who wish to compete in the Winter Spring Regional Competitive Event Conference, that you are affiliating them prior to that conference deadline. Because if they want to compete, they have to be affiliated first in order to then be registered for the conference. Other than that, everybody just needs to be affiliated by January 1st. So if they're not competing, January 1st is the deadline. If they are competing, it'll be whatever your winter, spring regional conference deadline is. But I would say definitely at least 2 or 3 weeks prior to the deadline in case there's any issues. And then it will also give you time to register for the conference itself. Okay, so that is affiliation. I am going to scroll down here. We're going to go over the Welcome Back Rally and FLDA really quick. So this is where you will find our Welcome Back Rally registration. I am going to quickly just pull up the page on our Florida HOSA website. So if you hover over conferences, it's the first one listed there. So our Welcome Back Rally this year will be September 30th. It's our second annual in-person Welcome Back Rally. It will be with the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers again, so we're very excited about that. It'll be at their stadium, their Amerant Bank Arena in Sunrise, Florida. We don't do any other conferences in South Florida, so this is a great way for our South Florida members to be able to participate and attend the conference. And so we are really excited to partner with the Florida Panthers again to do this. This particular conference is an open invitation to all prospective and current HOSA members. So anybody that is potentially interested in starting a HOSA chapter, but then also those that might already be affiliated. One thing to just note up at the top here, this is for all of our conferences. That's why we always list it up here. There's no cancellations or refunds after the registration deadline. So after the registration deadline, which is September 15th for the Welcome Back Rally, there's no cancellations or refunds. So any name in the system, and I'll show you how to register, but any name in the system after it automatically closes on the 15th of September must be paid for. No exceptions. A block will go on your account if you do not pay. So just keep that in mind. We do allow substitutions and for the Welcome Back Rally. So those must be made by 5 p.m. on Monday, September 29th. If you have somebody that gets sick at the last minute and somebody else wants to take their place, we do allow that. I just need to know by 5 p.m. What substitutions are being made. So scrolling down for the Welcome Back Rally, our registration check-in will be 10:45 to 11:15. You will not be able to get into the arena prior to that time. So just make sure you're aware of that. Our state officer hype session, where our state officers are going to go through all of the exciting things to look forward to this year, will be from 11:15 to 12:15. And then from 12:30 to 5, we will be doing lunch, locker room tours, and arena tours. So the students will be able to see the full arena and be able to go into, which we weren't able to do last year because there was a game that night. But this year we're able to go through the locker room and see the medical equipment and all of that. So we're very excited. You can click here for our tentative agenda, which basically has the same information. And then there will also be an option to purchase discounted group rate hockey game tickets. And it's going to be for a select number of hockey games. And what will happen is once registration closes, I will send out a link to all of the advisors that are registered, the chapters that are registered, for you to then disseminate and have those tickets purchased through that link. But they will be directly through the Florida Panthers. We will not be handling any of the hockey tickets. I will just be sending out the link to purchase them, but they are at a discounted rate. So they will start at $31 per person for the ticket. The registration fee, which includes the Welcome Back Rally itself, participating in it, as well as a lunch with a drink, is $23 per person. It does not include the hockey ticket. So please make sure you know that that's a separate purchase. Our online registration deadline is 11:59 p.m. EST on September 15th, and that will be through the HOSA system. I will show you that in just a second. Something that's a little bit different for our returning advisors. For the new ones, this won't matter too much, but for our returning advisors, forms and payment will not be mailed. You will need to bring it to the Welcome Back rally on September 30th. We're trying to give the most amount of time we can for registration, and we will also be at the Washington Leadership Academy between the registration deadline and the Welcome Back rally. So we won't even be in the office to accept the forms. So please make sure, for anybody that's registering, new chapter advisor returning, please make sure you're bringing all the forms and payment to the WBR on September 30th. Please do not mail it. And then we have more information here. So WBR information, if you click into here, you have our memo letter, which explains basically what I've just talked about, has the deadlines. Also something to note here, our second paragraph, all schools, including post-secondary, must be accompanied by a registered advisor chaperone, and there's more information about that. Please read that. But every single chapter that comes, there has to be either a registered advisor or a chaperone. And different schools and districts have different requirements for how many need to come based on how many people you're bringing, based on how many females versus males. So please just make sure you know your school and district rules, but our rule is that there at least must be one registered advisor or chaperone. And then scrolling down, we have information about the conference registration fees that I discussed. I will show you the options activities in just a second. The deadlines, so registration deadline, again, Monday, September 15th, 11:59 EST in the HOSA system. Payment and forms deadline, Tuesday, September 30th, again, bringing it to the WBR, not mailing, which will consist of the checklist. I'll show that in a second. The registration summary report, the required attendee forms, and the payment. That is what needs to be brought to the WBR to complete your registration. If this is not brought to the WBR, your registration will be incomplete, and unfortunately, you will not be able to attend. So please make sure that you are bringing this with you. Information on payment. Unlike the affiliation dues, we do not at this time accept credit card payments. So the allowable forms of payment are a school check, money order, or a bank cashier's check. So again, we do not accept credit cards, and we do not accept personal checks, as well as not accepting cash. So please make sure you're submitting your payment either as school check, money order, or a bank cashier's check. And please make sure two things. One, that the payment is made payable to Florida HOSA. So again, this is one of our conferences. So if it's made out to Global National HOSA, we're going to have to return the check to you. It has to be made out to Florida HOSA. So just make sure your bookkeeper understands that. I will show you on the registration where to find that information on the invoice, which is similar to the affiliation invoice. And then please make sure you're submitting only one form of payment per chapter. We don't want 7 different money orders from the 7 students that are coming. We have to have one form of payment. Again, we're the second largest chartered association, so we'll definitely have over 20,000 members. It just gets way too much if each person's paying individually. So one form of payment that's made out to Florida HOSA. Here is the dress code. Please make sure if you're attending the WBR, your students understand the dress code and what they are required to wear. And then we also have some suggested items to bring that they can look through. So this is our WBR information and instructions. And then the online registration instructions, I will show you how to register online in just a second. But you can either come back to this recording or you can look through here. This is just a written out version of how to register for the conference. And then we have our tentative agenda that's already linked on the main screen. But a lot of schools will need this to submit to get approval for a field trip. So we have that listed as well. Back to the main page, advisor chaperone forms, again, to be brought to the WBR. You'll get used, if you're a new advisor, you'll get used to these forms. If you're a returning advisor, you're already well aware of them. But these are the advisor chaperone forms, the checklist. Please make sure you fill in all of the information that is asked. Please note, if you are not attending, you must designate. That's where we get into our protocol about the registered advisor chaperone. You must designate a lead chaperone. That information will go there. Please make sure you're completing what's listed here prior to the WBR on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, this is what you will need to bring copies of the documents below to WBR and obtain the originals for your record. So this checklist just helps make sure you have everything complete for your registration. So make sure you are completing this and also bringing a copy with you. It will also need to be turned in at the WBR. And then the Advisor Chaperone Code of Ethics and Medical Liability Release Form. This has to be filled out by all advisors or chaperones attending. So if you have 4 different, advisors, or 2 advisors and 2 chaperones, all registered advisors and chaperones have to fill out these 2 forms. And then these student forms, again, brought to the WBR. Every single registered student has to fill out the code of conduct and the medical liability release form. And also, going back really quick to the checklist, I just want to point out here, this section. So you're responsible for making sure that all of the forms are fully complete when you collect them from the students, that there's signatures. By signing on this checklist, you're certifying that you've collected the fully completed and signed forms, and that you're bringing copies with you to the conference. And this is on every checklist for every conference we have. It has to do obviously with liability, but especially medical liability. If something were to happen to one of the students health-wise while they are there, we need to be able to refer to the medical liability form for what to do next. So please just make sure that when you are collecting the forms back from your students, that they are fully completed and signed. Switching to the HOSA CMS, where registration will occur for the Welcome Back Rally. Again, going back to the main screen, going under conferences here, Welcome Back Rally, you'll click in there. Under the second blue box, registrations, the red plus sign is where you will click. This will be your full list of affiliated members. If you do not have any affiliated members yet, there will be no one listed here. But if you do, this is where you will find them. You will find whoever you're wanting to register for the conference. Click the blue register button. Just make sure that the registration type is correct, which it should be, because that's how you affiliated them. But double check and make sure that that's correct. Their contact information will be pre-populated. The Welcome Back Rally registration is pretty simple. The only thing you need to really worry about is making sure that the registration type is correct, contact information is correct. And then under options activities here on the right, add options activities, there's a drop down. If you have any vegetarians, we need to know that because there is a lunch that is provided. So please make sure if you have a vegetarian, you're clicking vegetarian. And then you're pressing save at the bottom here. It will save the registration. And now when you're back on the main screen of the Welcome Back Rally registration, you can see here who all you have registered. If you need to delete somebody, go to this gray eye on the left, click it, go all the way down and press delete registration right here on the left-hand side at the bottom. I'm not going to delete it because I'm going to show you how to pull the registration summary report and the invoice. So down here on the bottom in this gray bar, you'll see view and you'll see reports. Click reports. The first one, registration summary, if you click that, we need a copy of this with all of your forms. So you will need to print this to PDF and bring it with you. Normally this is mailed. But please just make sure this is included in your forms. This is just a summary of all of the registrations and any options activities that are for that particular conference. Going back down to the gray box at the bottom under reports, if you click generate invoice for recent registrations, that's what will generate for your bookkeeper. And again, just to note, to the right of the HOSA logo is where you will be sending or making the check out to. So again, we're not having these payments for WBR mailed. They need to be brought there, but you still will be making them out, the check out to Florida HOSA. So that's why that's listed. Again, if you remember the affiliation, Global National HOSA was listed there. But it will have all of your registrations listed on each of these invoices that you generate. Okay, down at the bottom, if you have not affiliated anybody yet, or need to register a chaperone. Now, this is if you haven't affiliated the student members, this is only allowed for the Welcome Back Rally. All of their conferences, they have to be affiliated. But if you have not affiliated your members yet, if you're, again, a prospective HOSA chapter that might be interested in having an affiliated chapter, or you need to register a chaperone, you will go down here at the bottom right, register family guest other. And here's where you will choose yourself, an advisor interested in affiliation, the chaperone, if there is one, and then the student interested in affiliation. And then you will add the contact information. Now, this will not be pre-populated because they aren't affiliated yet. So you'll need to add that in. And then again, add any options or activities, which is just the vegetarian for the WBR. So that's where you will register chaperones, and then anybody that wishes to come that potentially has not affiliated yet. So, you know, if your chapter is already established and you've already affiliated your members and you guys are already planning on coming, but you have a couple of other students that might be interested in HOSA, but they don't want to commit yet and they want to come and find out more. Again, this is where you would do student interested in affiliation and register them here. And again, you'll have to go back and generate the invoice and all of that for I recommend doing all of your registration at once. So that's all on the same invoice. So you'll need to populate that, again, that registration summary report and the invoice for your bookkeeper. So that is the Welcome Back Rally. And I am going to move into the Fall Leadership Development Academy, which is very similar. I want to let everybody know that for the purpose of this webinar, we have opened the FLDA registration, but immediately after this webinar, it will be closed again and it won't be open until this coming Monday. So Monday, August 25th is when the FLDA registration will open. And that is because we're meeting with the state officers this weekend and finalizing the state officer fundraisers, which will be added to the registration. So again, Monday, August 25th is when this FLDA registration will open, but it will look very similar to this. So under conferences, you'll click FL HOSA FLDA 2025. And I want to pop back over to our Florida HOSA website and go to the FLDA page just to go over that as well. I'm going to kind of run through this a little bit quicker since some of this is very similar to the WBR, but our Fall Leadership Development Academy is held at Camp Kalakwa in High Springs. It is a much smaller conference, much smaller than our State Leadership Conference, which has about 4,000 attendees. FLDA usually has between 250 and 300. But it is where our state officers do workshops focused on leadership development for our members. So there are a lot of regional officers and local chapter officers that attend, and just anybody that might be interested in furthering their leadership and organizational skills. And it is really fun because we do it at a camp. So there's that kind of camp aspect to it that makes it fun as well. So this year, FLDA will be 2 weekends prior to Thanksgiving, November 14th through the 16th. Again, no cancellations or refunds after a registration deadline, which is October 10th. We are allowing substitutions for registration, same as WBR. They need to be made by 5 p.m. on Thursday, November 13th. So our registration fee for FLDA is $125 per person. The online registration deadline is Friday, October 10th by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our late registration deadline, which has an additional fee applicable to that, is Wednesday, October 15th by 11:59 p.m. EST. And then our postmark deadline for forms and payment, these forms need to be mailed, forms and payment need to be mailed, which is how all of the rest of our conferences are. Again, WBR was a special circumstance, but that deadline is Monday, October 20th. Or before. For our returning advisors, you might notice that the postmark deadline has been extended a little bit later than in past years, and that's to give you guys a little bit more time to collect the payment from your bookkeeper and send it all together. So we're hoping that'll be very helpful for everybody this year. So again, online registration deadline October 10th and the postmark deadline October 20th. You are free to choose where you stay overnight during FLDA or not. Camp Kalakwa has a select number of options for housing, but if you choose to stay elsewhere, you can. You just, as long as it's okay with your school and the district, you just are responsible for transportation back and forth to Camp Kalakwa. And then in these boxes down here, you'll see FLDA 2025 information. Click into that. You can view the memo letter, which is very similar to WBR, has a bunch of information, important deadlines. You can view that at your leisure. Our overnight accommodations information, if you're staying at Camp Kalakwa, please view this form. It has information on how to make your housing accommodations, online registration instructions, our tentative agenda, and then the FLDA 2025 state officer fundraisers will be posted this weekend or Monday once we have those finalized, and then the Camp Kalakwa rules and regulations. So this is all the important FLDA information. And then same thing, we have the advisor chaperone forms and the student forms. All will be mailed to the state office. Same thing as WBR, we have a checklist, and then we have the advisor chaperone code of ethics and medical liability form. Same thing with the student form, code of conduct and medical liability. So all of that kind of remains the same. Switching to the registration, very similar to the welcome back rally. You have to, in order to attend FLDA, you have to be affiliated. So there is no option for interested in affiliation members. You have to be affiliated. But if you come over here, same way as the WBR, click this red plus, you will choose whoever you wish to register. Again, double check their registration type, double check the contact information, make sure that's correct. And then under options activities, if you click that in the drop down, we offer the option to pre-order t-shirts. More information can be found in the memo letter about that. We offer a regional officer workshop that's free of charge. So if they're interested in doing a regional officer workshop, that needs to be selected. And then any fundraisers will be included in here. So last year we did a rubber duck. So we just left that in there to show you as an example, but that could be an option that your member chooses. So they can select multiple options. So if they want to choose a long sleeve shirt, the cost will populate. And then if they want to do the regional officer workshop, they can do that as well, again, free of charge. And then they could also get one of the fundraisers. So you can have multiple options activities. Don't worry about competitive events for this conference either. We don't do competitive events at FLDA. And then you would click save. It'll bring you back to the main registration. You will see everybody that's registered, any options or activities, and then the total fee for each person. So for Arian, we have his registration, that's $125. He got a duck and he got a long sleeve t-shirt for $24. So his total registration is $152. Again, at the bottom, under reports in the gray tab on the left, that's where you will generate the registration summary report that needs to be mailed to us, as well as the invoice for the recent registrations. Again, Florida HOSA. Payment needs to be made to us and sent to us, and that's our address. So please make sure you're letting the bookkeeper know that. Then all of your registrations will be here with the amount due. Same thing as the welcome back rally. If you need to register a chaperone, You will come down to the bottom here under Register Family Guest Other. Click on that, and it will give you the option to register that chaperone, and you will need to fill in their contact information and add any options or activities as well. So that is FLDA. And that is pretty much everything I wanted to cover for FLDA and for Welcome Back Rally in terms of the conferences. A couple of things to just point out before I open it up for questions. Again, just making sure you're familiarizing yourself with our Florida HOSA website. It's very important looking at coming here just, once a week, even looking at the rotating web banner, making sure that you're aware of what's going on. I try to send out, emails when I can. I try not to flood your guys' inbox either. So anything that's really important will be posted to our socials, or I will send out an email, but keep coming back to the rotating banner in our news section down here, just making sure you're aware of anything going on at Florida HOSA. Familiarizing yourself with your regional advisors, familiarizing yourself with the guidelines. You're probably get a lot of questions from your students about the competition. So making sure you're just aware of what we offer. Making sure, again, with affiliation through the HOSA system, that you are collecting the dues before you affiliate your students. Again, no names can be removed from the system once they're in there. So make sure you're collecting the dues and that they, are saying that, yes, I want to be in Florida HOSA. Here's my affiliation dues, and then go ahead and affiliate them using their personal email addresses. And just make sure you're putting, we get a lot of requests and it takes a ton of time on our end. Make sure you are putting the student's name in spelled correctly. If it's incorrectly spelled, that, then we have to go in and fix it when we get a request. And however it is entered in the system is how it will show up, during the SLC on their name tags, or on the big screen if they win. So just make sure you're putting their correct name spelled right in the system. And then making sure that you're paying your affiliation dues through Global National HOSA, whether it's credit card or check. And then familiarizing yourself with our conferences, the Welcome Back Rally obviously coming up very soon, and then FLDA coming up in November, and just making sure you're going back and checking the regional conferences table often to make sure you're aware of when your winter spring conference is, or your fall leadership conference for the region. And then just making sure you understand that for our conferences, specifically, the Welcome Back Rally and FLDA that's coming up, but this also applies to SLC and ILC, that we do not do refunds or cancellations after the online registration deadline. And just double checking and making sure you're speaking with your bookkeeper, especially if they're new. Oh my goodness, last year we had so many new bookkeepers that were at the schools, and it became kind of a mess. Making sure that they understand the two different vendors, that Global National HOSA and Florida HOSA are separate. And you're sending everything to the correct place, not just kind of handing everything to them and then letting them do whatever they want, because that's when issues happen with lost checks and things like that. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. I know it's a ton. I would like to open it up for questions now. We have about 10 minutes until 6, and we can stay a little bit longer if we need to, no problem there. If you have any questions, please unmute yourself, ask them. You can also put it in the chat, and we will be happy to start answering your questions.
I have a question about the bookkeeping end.
Yes.
In CSM, is there a place to print out something that's more like a quote that doesn't say invoice? Because that's what I hear from my bookkeeper when I bring her stuff.
So we've gotten that. Yes, we've gotten that question. What I really would recommend is, I mean, I know it's, not the look and feel of an invoice, but I mean, the registration summary report is, what you could provide in that instance. It doesn't say invoice on the top. It has the amount, like everybody who's registered, the amount, and it's not specifically an invoice. That's what I would recommend printing for them.
Okay, that should work. Thank you.
Yes, no problem.
Hi, I have a quick question. For the events new at HOSA, do we need to have a minimum amount of events that the students participate in?
You don't have to participate in the competitive events at all if you guys don't want to. That's optional. But it's just that so there is no minimum for the chapter. I mean, you could have 20 people in your chapter and only one wants to compete. That's fine. There's no required amount for us. The only rule protocol that we have here at Florida HOSA is that they can only compete in one regular competitive event. So that's one event out of those 5 different categories. And then as many recognition events as they would like, which are the ones in the gray boxes. But other than that, there are no requirements about, a minimum that your chapter would have to compete in or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. A couple of questions really quick coming through the chat. Deadline to have students affiliated. If the students are competing at the regional winter spring CE conference, the deadline to have them affiliated would be a couple weeks before that deadline. So just make sure if they want to compete, your regional conference winter spring CE deadline, and make sure they're affiliated, I would say at least 2 to 3 weeks prior to avoid any issues. If they are not competing, the deadline set by Global National HOSA is January 1st. Florida HOSA does not have a hotel block for the Welcome Back Rally. I'm sorry. Maybe in the future, but not this year. I noticed student IDs are required for competitions. Does HOSA provide them? We do not. No, I mean, we do not provide student IDs. We will provide a conference name badge of some sort, but we do not provide school IDs. If your school doesn't provide them, I would, so go on to the guidelines page and look at the appendices. There's a section on student IDs and what's accepted, because there's different forms of IDs that are acceptable outside of the student ID. So just make sure you're looking at that and your students can choose one of those options. But we do not provide any sort of student IDs.
Jackie,
Yes.
also Appendix G has information regarding if there's no school ID, driver's license. They can look at Appendix G to actually put together an ID.
Yes, thank you, Lloyd. The students from last year that paid the affiliation fee of $30, would they have to re-affiliate? Yes. The affiliation ends at the end of the school year, technically June 30th, which is the end of our fiscal year. But yes, they need to re-affiliate. Each affiliation is just for that school year. So they need to re-affiliate for the 2025-2026 school year and pay the $30 affiliation dues. For the FLDA, am I understanding correctly that any member interested can attend, not just officers? That is correct. Any member interested can attend, but we do have a certain number that can attend, and that is a great question. I didn't fully go into that just for sake of time, but I'm going to go back to that really quick to make sure that I can answer any sort of questions. If you go to the FLDA page and you go to the memo letter, this section right here, each school, not chapter, may register current members based on the below scale using their total HOSA membership from the 24-25 year, plus an advisor or chaperone. So any brand new schools joining this year, you can bring up to 5 members plus an advisor or chaperone. If you do not know your membership numbers from last year, please reach out to Lloyd or I. We will get those to you. You will base the 24-25 membership numbers on, and that will be how many members you're willing, or how many members you're able to bring. So if you had 5 to 25 affiliated members last year, you can bring 7 members to FLDA plus an advisor or chaperone. We don't have a limit on the advisor chaperones. You can bring 2 advisors, 2 chaperones if you need to based on your school rules, but we just want to make sure you understand it's 7 members, and then the advisor and chaperone are separate, that they aren't counted within the 7 members allotment. 26 to 50, you can bring 8. 51 to 75, you can bring 9 members. 76 to 100, you can bring 10. 101 to 125, you can bring 11, and more than 126, you can bring 12. Returning advisors, you may notice that we have increased the allotment. We just felt like we could do that this year, and hopefully moving forward, to give more opportunities for your members to attend FLDA. The reason we do have a set number that we allow to attend FLDA is because it is a camp, and it is a much smaller venue than like our state leadership conference, and we unfortunately just can't fit every single person that would want to come to FLDA. So we do have to have a certain number limitation. So that's why this allotment is established. And so just make sure you're looking at that so you know how many members you are allowed to bring. And again, if you're a new school joining this year, you did not affiliate last year, you can bring up to 5 members plus an advisor or chaperone. But yes, it doesn't have to be a regional officer. It doesn't have to be a local chapter officer. It could be anybody that wishes to kind of further enhance their leadership skills and come to FLDA. My students are asking me if there are any changes in the bylaws this year. Many of them are FBLA members, and there are significant changes with them. We have not made any super significant changes to the bylaws in the past couple of years. That all has to be voted on by our voting delegates at the state leadership conference, and we did not have any bylaw changes that were voted on last year. So we do not have any, in terms of comparing it to last year, any changes. We are potentially might have some bylaw changes in the works for either this year or future years, but as of right now, no changes to the bylaws. There have been changes to the policies and procedures, though, which are separate from the bylaws. So there might be questions with that. You can view the policies and procedures on our Florida HOSA website.
Can you hear me? I have a question.
Yes, I can.
Hey, thank you so much for this. When we start the school year, I'm starting a new chapter, and I'm gonna do a meeting next week to get everything grouped together and decide affiliate who wants to actually commit to this. When it comes to the welcome back event, was that a mandatory welcome back event? Try and get everyone to show. Were any events mandatory?
No, the welcome back rally is not mandatory. The FLDA is not mandatory. I mean, the state leadership conference isn't mandatory. The only thing I want to let you know is that if your students are interested in competing, this year, then they do have to attend the winter spring regional CE conference and compete there first. And if they place in the top 3, they then qualify for SLC. But no, our WBR, the FLDA, neither of them are mandatory by any means.
Got it. The winter spring? Okay.
If they want to compete, they need to attend there, because that's where they will compete in order to qualify for the state leadership conference.
Thank you. No, that helps a lot. I'll write that one down. I need to type that could someone type that in the chat? I'm trying. I need to write it down. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Is FLDA open to middle school or just high school? It is open to middle school. And we do have middle school members that come. We strongly encourage that. So if you're a middle school chapter, please come to FLDA. Do we as individual chapters follow the Florida bylaws, or do we write them as a chapter? you need to follow our Florida HOSA bylaws, but you can write your own individual bylaws as a chapter if you would like. And we always just say, you know, you can use our Florida HOSA bylaws to develop your own chapter bylaws. You don't have to use, like in our bylaws, you'll see we have a list of our state officer positions and things like that. You don't have to use the same state officer or local chapter officer positions at your local level that we do at the state level. So you can tweak them a little bit. But I just would say if you would like to establish, it's a good practice to establish chapter bylaws. You can use our Florida HOSA bylaws as a starting place. Is the winter spring conferences announced yet or soon? As soon as we get the information from the regional advisors, they will be posted to that regional conferences table. Lloyd is quick, so usually as soon as he gets that information, it's posted definitely same day most of the time. So just keep checking the table, but also your regional advisors will send out whenever they have those dates. They'll send that information out. I think a lot of them are just getting back into the school year and stuff. So you should be receiving in the next few weeks, I'm sure, more information about either the fall regional conference or the winter spring regional conference. But again, keep checking that regional conference table. As soon as we get that information from them, we update it. This is a good question. If my students make it to national or international, it's the same thing. It's the International Leadership Conference. Do the sponsors have to attend with them? Our rule is that yes, if you're a Florida it doesn't have to be the advisor, but if you're attending the International Leadership Conference, if anybody from your chapter is attending, or your chapter, you know, multiple people from your chapter, there has to be an advisor or a chaperone. So it doesn't have to be the sponsor. And keep in mind, ILC does occur during the summer when most of you are off. So it doesn't have to be the advisor, but there has to be a chaperone, non-student, 25 and older. And it has to follow, I mean, we're not going to trump your state or district rules. Okay, so if your school or district requires the person who's attending with the students to be a faculty member, then that's what they need to be. You can't just say because Florida HOSA, you know, said we can have a chaperone, non-student, 25 and older. It doesn't work like that. So you have to follow whatever your school and district requires. But for us, for our conferences, there has to be at least an advisor or a chaperone registered. And if it is a chaperone that's not, you know, a faculty member at the school, they need to be a non-student, 25 or older. We do have parents accompany students to ILC. There just has to be a designated lead chaperone if the advisor is not attending. Hillary put the regional conferences table link in there. Thank you. Okay. How many members can compete in each event will be designated by your regional advisor, since that's the first conference. So that information will come from them. And then from there, top 3 qualify for states. Can their parents go with them? Yes. For the International Leadership Conference, that is more common. But again, there has to be a designated chaperone. And again, it has to comply with your school and district's policies, because we do have some schools that won't allow that. So just make sure you're aware of your school's policies. How many events can they compete in? Again, 1 regular competitive event and as many recognition events as they would like, but just 1 regular competitive event. So that means if they're secondary and post-secondary, it was the blue boxes on the guidelines page, 1 of them they can compete in. And then if they're middle school, 1 of the red maroon boxes. Okay, this is a good question. We had high school competitors last year compete for the first time, and this year middle schoolers are interested. Do they register under the same chapter that is already formed? So yeah, if you're a middle high, you can register everybody all together under that chapter at your school. Just make sure you're designating the correct divisions. So you're labeling the middle school members as middle school, secondary as secondary. For the WBR, for FLDA, and for ILC, you will register the same way I showed. For SLC, it's a little bit different if you're a middle high school, because we do have separate registrations. So for middle, we have a middle school SLC registration, and we have a secondary, post-secondary SLC registration. So if you're a middle high school, you will need to register and I'll get into this when we do the webinar. So I'm just letting you know, you'll need to register your middle school members under the middle school registration and your secondary under the secondary, post-secondary. But for affiliation, you can, if you're a middle high school, you can put them all together under your chapter, under the same one. Because they'll compete in whatever division they're labeled in. So just make sure you're labeling them in the correct division. Any student competing in competition events must attend one of the regional conferences. Well, you have to attend your regional conference, so you can't just choose one of the regional conferences. It has to be whatever region you fall under, whatever region your school falls under. And it's their winter spring regional CE conference. So not the fall leadership conference that some of the regions have. Most of the time at the fall conference, it's a lot of information that's being passed out for the school year. They do their elections for regional officers, things like that. Then the winter spring competitive events conferences, where if your students want to compete, they must attend or at least be registered for it. Because if they're in a test, the regional advisors will give you more information. I really don't want to say too much and confuse people, but if the students want to compete, they have to be registered at least for the regional conference. And you will get more information from the regional advisors for that. And again, it's the winter spring CE conference. Any other questions? I think I got through, I'm sorry if I missed any. I think I got through all the questions in the chat.
There's one more, Jackie.
If the regional conference for secondary, post-secondary is not on the same date as middle school, then those middle high schools would have to register them separately, correct? Yeah, so like the middle school would have to, unless your regional advisor could work something out or whatever. Usually the middle, if the middle school is separate, it's a completely separate conference. So the middle school members would have to go to that particular conference and compete there. And then the secondary would have to go to the secondary, post-secondary regional conference and compete there. So yes. I don't know. It's going to depend on the regional advisors whether the registration itself is separate.
Right.
But usually it is, because it's two separate conferences. So usually
right. It all depends on what the regional advisors want to do. So that the regional advisors usually communicate with me on how they want that set up. Sometimes they have a separate secondary, post-secondary conference and a separate middle school conference. Sometimes they'll have the same registration that the advisors will register, and I just send them the database, and then the regional advisors separate it on their own. So all that to say, local chapter advisors, stay in communication with your regional advisors, and they'll let you know.
Yeah, we have 11 different regions, so we rely on our regional advisors to run their regional conferences, and so Any regional specific questions, again, should just be directed to them. If you email either me, Mandy, or Lloyd, we will just forward it to them to answer. Because again, each region is different. Each region runs things differently. So just contact them for any region specific questions. Okay, I think now I got through all the questions in the chat. So if anybody else has any questions, put in the chat. You can unmute yourself and ask. We are happy to help. And I know it's, especially for our new chapter advisors, I know it's overwhelming. It's a lot of information, but just keep coming on these webinars. It will be really helpful for you. Review the webinar recordings before you do any type of conference registration. And I think it'll be beneficial for you all moving forward. So any last questions before we end the meeting? Thank you for staying a little bit later than planned. These always run a little bit longer no matter what time we end it at or say it's ending. But I appreciate you guys all being on, taking time out of your evening, especially after a long day of school to be on this webinar. And if there's no last questions, we will go ahead and end the meeting. If you think of something afterwards, feel free to send me an email. I'd be happy to help. All right, well, thank you all. And I look forward to working with you this school year. So have a great night, everybody.